All right, Shalom. I'd like to start up saying, Call Halayim La Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Harikakwadash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and double honors to our elder apostle as well, the one Banya Charlotte down here in the lines in camp. Salutation to the Akim that are pushing the truth, sincerity, and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, I'm Khanak Sam Banya Charlotte from the lines in the Yahshua camp. And this is another Lions and News and Prophecy. Well, here we go. This is second Ezra 15:1. It says, Speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written on paper, for they are faithful and true. And let's start out with this. Psalms 58:3. It says, The wicked are estranged from the womb, they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies, right? Having a mouth speaking great things. So now, here we are, I've been dealing with this whole Venezuela United States thing for a minute. I've been going for the past couple months. I've been, putting up videos talking about this and not knowing how much it was going to escalate into what we have here right now. Because remember, at the beginning, Trump was saying he was not going to target Maduro and the regime. He was targeting um, cartels that were so-called allegedly smuggling drugs um, to the United States and other countries. It's funny how no other country is worried about any type of drug dealing going on from Venezuela, right? But it just goes to show you that, what I'm saying, the agendas that they push, man, they be lying. They lie on top of lie on top of lie on top of lie, man. And now they done kidnapped so-called apprehended, what they say lawfully apprehended Nicolas Maduro and his wife, right? And then took them down to D.C. for him to go in front of a judge. Like he ain't been on American soil to commit no crime. So how are you just gonna go pick him up? That's kidnapping, man. That's kidnapping. But remember, he said break their teeth. That's what they mad about. And he's speaking prophecy on them. All right. Let's go into this article. You see how in the video in the beginning how China was like, hey, you need to let him go immediately. Not now, but right now. China China is one of the biggest importers of Venezuelan oil. So it's not, going to affect their economy immediately, but you know, it will eventually. And here's the thing. So was it Russia or somebody else had said like the UN Council was putting together a Security Council to talk about the things to allegedly talk about the things that the United States have done, right, as far as dealing with the situation with Venezuela. However, I'm not sure. Okay, hold on, let me look this up real quick because the person said that they have a veto against it. I don't know what that means. Hold on, let me look it up. Okay, it says having a veto against the UN Security Council means one of the five permanent members, P5, US, China, Russia, UK, France, can unilaterally block any substantive resolution preventing it from passing, even if all other 14 members vote in favor. So basically, from what I was looking at last night, it doesn't matter what the UN Council comes up with to try um, to put a law or put something together against what the United States has done in the situation dealing with Venezuela, because they have a veto against it. So there's really pretty much nothing unless it escalates into some type of war and some other negotiation. Unless Maduro gets some other way gets a dog in the fight. So America has veto power against anything that the UN Security Council comes up with concerning the situation with Nicolas Maduro and Venezuela. All right, so we're gonna see how this plays out over the next couple of days. All right. So it said in the article, it said China decries U.S. action in Venezuela even as it guards billions at stake. It says the U.S. attack on Venezuela puts Beijing's local commercial interests in the spotlight. These are some bullet points. It says China is the top destination for Venezuela crude oil exports. Analysts doubt the United States strike would immediately impact Beijing's actions on Taiwan. It says even as China eyes new opportunities to build global influence in the wake of the U.S. attack on Venezuela, Beijing's immediate priority is protecting its economic interests, analysts said. China reacted swiftly to the military strike on Saturday night, expressing shock and condemnation. Beijing subsequently called on the United States to release the ousted Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro and his wife and urged Washington to resolve this crisis through dialogue. Right, and the thing about it, when I was listening to the elders lesson the other day, apparently apparently I guess I was it on it. Apparently Nicolas Maduro agreed upon everything that they were talking about. You know, so they agreed on everything that they were talking about. Hold on, let me see. Continue. Okay, and but the United States still went in there and did a strike allegedly. So it says China's foreign ministry's spokesperson Lin Jian said at a press briefing Monday that China maintains positive communication and cooperation with the Venezuelan government and that its willingness to depend cooperation, including on oil exports would not change regardless how the situation evolves. Right? They still gonna buy the oil from them, but the United States talking about taking that over. But like the elder said in his video, it'll take a while for that initially to be able to be that process to happen. All right. It says he added that Chinese interests in Venezuela would be protected under the law. The U.S. attack on Venezuela helps China bolster its position as a force for stability in the world, said Zikin Wang Slakia, a research fellow at the Beijing-based think tank Center for China and Globalization. Said, but Wang said the situation raises concern for Beijing because of China's exposure in the country. How this unfolds in the future is also very concerning because China has lots of commercial interests there. He said, adding that the uncertainty would spill over to Chinese business across Latin America and beyond. Beijing has made significant inroads in Latin America over the past 2 decades, persuading several countries, including Panama, Costa Rica, and Dominican Republic and El Salvador, to shift diplomatic recognition from Taiwan to China. And we always don't know who's back in Taiwan. the United States. And they have that issue over there they got to deal with while you're over here trying to sorry, kidnap people. All right. It says it says Chinese company, mostly state owned, have invested 4.8 billion in Venezuela over the last 2 decades, according to data compiled by the United States-based research firm Rhodium Group. Most of the deals occurred in the decade following the global financial crisis and during the final years of former President Hugo Chavez's rule, with a focus on energy projects. It says state-owned oil giant China National Petroleum Corporation has joint ventures with the Venezuelan counterpart, Petroleus de Venezuela. In August, privately held China Concord Resource Group announced rare plans to invest more than 1 billion in a Venezuelan project targeting production of 60,000 barrels of crude oil a day by the end of 2026. And I think they according to Reuters, it says protecting Chinese nationals and Chinese companies remain Beijing's top priority, said Dong Xiaoping, a senior researcher at Renmin University of China. China's foreign ministry said Monday it has received no reports of Chinese citizens being harmed by the U.S. strike. It says Beijing also criticized what it described as bullying action. See that? Oh, get some scriptures to go. Bullying action. All right. What was another bullying action? Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You know? All right, this is Habakkuk 2 and 4 says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. But he that lives by the sword must be unalive by the sword. It said, yea, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desires as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. See that? See that? He's all about taking shit. It says, verse 6, it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? See that? He's taking everything off the earth. How long? What did he say he's going to do with the oil? Keep it. And to him that laded himself with thick clay, and that clay that he laded himself with is debt. It's straight debt. See that? So it says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them, for be a spoil. See that? So these other nations are getting tired of the bullying. All right. It says Beijing also criticized what it described as bullying action that violates another country's sovereignty and said it opposes interference in the in the internal affairs of Latin America nations for any reason. China said it follows a non-interference policy and remain a good friend to countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, and does not draw ideological lines. China never seeks sphere of influence, nor does it target any third party. Lin added. It says imbalance of oil. Hmm. All right. So it said China. is the top destination for Venezuela crude, according to S&P Global. But Venezuela accounted for only 2% of China's crude oil and condensate imports in 2024, with the majority coming from the Middle East, according to figures published by the United States Energy Information Administration. Imports from Iran and Iraq increased between 2023 and 2024, while those from Venezuela fell, the data showed. China is likely to be wary of being dragged into its conflict, as Venezuela carries limited economic significance for China and little geopolitical proximity, and said Lu Su, principal economist, China at the Economist Intelligence Unit. Rather than choosing sides decisively, China's priority has been to protect its interests so long as partner countries do not take an explicit stance on Taiwan, she said. All right. So, I mean, if I remember, I'll put the rest of the article in the description box. But basically, man, China is really saying that, like, basically they're wrong for doing what they did. They had no jurisdiction to go invade this man's sovereignty, the country's sovereignty, to try to dictate what they feel like is right. Neither keep it alone home, but enlarge its desires as hell, man. See that? So I just want to touch on that a little bit. Let's gonna see how this is going to transpire, man. Lord willing, this lesson to edify and serve His purpose for the hopeful elect, the ones that truly believe in the name of Yahweh Shem Shai. With that, I'd like to say, call Halayim La Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Harakak Vadash Ma'aman. Double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone, double honors to our elder apostle as well, or her one Banyasha all down here in the lines and camp. Salutations to the archon that are pushing the truth to sincerity, truth, and peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Shem Shai. Shalom.